Hello and welcome to episode 128 of Beyond the Brick. I'm Joshua Hanlon.
And I'm Matthew Kay.
And we'd like to thank Philly Brick Fest for their support of Beyond the Brick. Philly Brick Fest will be held at the Philadelphia Expo Center on September 12th through the 14th. It is a public event with many hands-on attractions such as the LEGO video game area where you can challenge your family or make new friends playing your favorite LEGO titles head-to-head. And you can find more info in the description. I'll have a link to brickfestlive.com with info about all the BrickFest events. Now, joining us on the show this week, we are very happy to have Tommy Williamson, aka the Brick Nerd himself, joining us on the show. He is 46 years old, a visual effects and stereoscopic supervisor, and he is a member of PCH Lug and Lug-Ola. So, Tommy, it's awesome to have you on the show.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
No problem. So, you want to tell us a little bit about the two lugs you're part of real quick?
Yeah, PCH Lug. That actually started, we're a little too far north to be kind of active members with Lug-Ola, the Lug of Los Angeles, and too far south to be any part of the Bay Lug area. So we decided to create our own lug, the Pacific Coast Highway LEGO User Group. It's a small lug. There's only 15 of us, but it's cool. It's fun. And then I belong to Lug-Ola, but I'm just kind of on the fringe of it. I go down for a meeting maybe once a year, but they're all my friends down there, so I hang out with them quite a bit, and it's not a meeting.
So it's surprising that there are that many fans where you are. There's like a 15, like a good group?
A fairly sizable group. I mean, half of them don't come to meetings. And there's one member of the group is actually from Canada, so I'm not sure why he joined, but he is a member.
It's all good.
Yeah, I mean, the active members, there's only really about 7 of us.
Do you guys ever do any small shows or anything like that?
We haven't done anything yet, but we've gotten together to go to BrickCon and down to events down in Los Angeles.
Very nice. So do you piggyback off of, I don't know if we're allowed to talk about this, but Lug Bulk, do you piggyback off of Lug-Ola? How does that work?
No, we don't. I participate through Lug-Ola.
Through Lug-Ola.
Yeah, I don't do it through PCH Lug.
Okay.
Because we don't have enough members with any kind of disposable income that can support the minimum order for it. So
it's a little insane. Yes.
Yeah. Every time it comes up, I rarely have the money. It's always this bad timing on the work front. So.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. There's like a 1-year lead time, right? So you have to 1 year from now, will I want 2,000 of this?
Exactly. It takes forever once it starts to actually place the order. It takes forever to get the order, and then once you have it, it takes forever to sort the order. So.
Tisk.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, I mentioned at the beginning, before we get too deep into your LEGO stuff, you do visual effects and things like that for movies. So what all does that entail? Is there a quick answer to that question?
Not really. I actually started in 1987, 88 on back then I did makeup effects and creature effects, and worked on several movies. Some I'm sure you've heard of. And then in '93 I made the switch to digital, and came up here, back to my hometown. I actually grew up in Lompoc, and worked with a company up here called Cafe FX, and we worked for better part of 20 years on visual effects for films. Then that company went under, and I started chasing work around the planet. And I worked in London and New York and Philadelphia and Acapulco, all kinds of places, and then got tired of doing that, chasing the work thing. So I'm trying to not do visual effects anymore. But Brick Nerd only pays the bills to so much, so I need to continue to do it occasionally.
Mm-hmm. So how does your LEGO history fit in with that then? Were you building with LEGO all throughout those years, or is this something more recent you got into?
No, I actually played with LEGO. I didn't really start building like what you would consider MOCs until like 2008. Beyond just like simple, little car here and there and little ship every once in a while. Mostly I just bought and built sets and kept them. And I kept the collection. I actually used to build while I worked. There was I'd always have a bigger set on my desk at work, and I would actually, like for instance on Sin City and Shark Boy and Lava Girl, I built the UCS Star Destroyer. In fact, on
Okay.
the last few days of it, we were wrapping up, and it wasn't look like I was going to get done. And all the compositors that I was in charge of were like, "We're not going to watch this thing not get finished." So they all started coming over during little breaks and putting it together with me. And so we finished it like on the same day we finished the job.
So that kind of goes hand in hand then with the work a little bit, is your Lego building throughout the years.
I never really had a dark ages. There was a period where I didn't have any Lego, but it wasn't because I got rid of it. It was actually stolen from me. But the bulk of my collection when I was younger went with my little sisters when my parents divorced. And what little I kept got stolen from me when I went off to work and stored some stuff at a friend's house. So, but as soon as I could afford it again, I started buying again. Well, luckily, it was right about the time that the first pirate wave came out. So I got like the Black Seas Barracuda and all the cool. I think I got every set. They were all over the living room. Kind of drove my wife nuts.
I can imagine. Now, what was your transition like into the online community when you first started building MOCs a lot? What were some of the first sites you discovered?
Actually, the first thing I got into it was when I visited Legoland, and I was There was a Junior Master Model Builder contest that they used to run every month. I think they actually still do. And they were running a thing on making birthday cakes for the 20th anniversary, I think, of the Lego Club. And that's where I met Gary McIntyre. I don't know if you guys have ever talked to him.
Mr. G Snot?
Mr. G Snot, yes. He's become a really good friend. I love that guy. I met him for the first time that day while I was building, and the family was like way done with it. They were like, "Let's just go," and I'm like, "Ah, I gotta get it. This thing's gonna be perfect. It's gonna be great. Go find me this part. Go find me that part." And I just kept them there forever. And I built this ridiculous little birthday cake, but I won. And then I got tickets to go back to Legoland, and then we timed that for the next model builder contest. Built for that, won that month. Then went back again in, I think it's January. They did the build off for the whole year, and I won that one as well. So I was like, yeah,
and then they offered you a job.
No.
Oh.
Actually, they talked to me a couple of times. Gary was like courting me for a little bit a couple of years ago, but I didn't, by the time I moved down there, and they don't pay all that great, it wasn't going to be a very lucrative career.
Yeah,
especially when I was talking to them, I was still doing visual effects all the time, and that can pay. Movie money plays really well. So
when it's there, right?
When it's there, yeah, it's feast and famine.
Yeah, I don't think moving down to San Diego, live in a shack by the beach, as long as you can play with Lego, right?
My wife is like totally on board with a trip down to San Diego. So we've got one that's left the nest now. We might actually really seriously consider moving down that way. We've got family down there. We love the area.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So after Legoland, what was some of the first sites you found online then?
Probably Brickshelf. I remember being involved in Brickshelf before I was involved with Flickr. I set up a Flickr account early on, but didn't do much with it. Brickshelf was still kind of active back then. So
what about mock pages? Did that ever factor in?
I have an account with mock pages. I did sign up for them when they first started, or shortly after they started, and I was fairly active on it for a little bit, but it got, well, you've seen it. It's kind of overrun with little kids, and it's a little too big brother, a little too overly monitored and managed.
Yeah, just a little. Yeah, it's kind of the barren wasteland of Lego Creations, perhaps.
Well, I think that's probably Brickshelf.
That's Brickshelf. I don't know. So maybe what is it? A forest of ugly trees or something like that.
There you go. It's that patch of land between the forest and the desert.
Yeah.
So it's Bakersfield.
Now, you actually do something fairly cool. You design a model for every Brick Journal issue. Is that right? So is that once a month then you're designing a Brick Journal model?
It's six issues a year is what they produce right now. And yeah, I've been doing that for, oh God, I don't know how, almost a year now. That's a fun challenge. I'm actually kind of behind on what I need to design for the next issue. Actually co-editing the issue with Ian Heath, and so far I haven't done a thing. I feel terrible about it, including design the model, but I've been overrun with work. Actually, let's see, I don't have anything. I have my, hold on a second, disappeared.
1 second to bring back something cool to show us.
Back. This is actually an Ecto pack. This is from Ghostbusters. This was from like 2 issues back, I think, maybe 3. So you can actually build that from instructions. This one's I got the wrong color.
Old brick journal?
Yeah, I don't remember which issue number it is. There's instructions to build this on there.
So do you build something based off of like the theme of the issue? Is that the idea?
I try to. Yeah, I find out from Joe what the overall theme of the magazine is, and I try to cater to it. So like the last issue was architecture, so I built Bronson Gate from Paramount Studios. Also, he keeps like kind of pushing me into the movie stuff because he's fascinated with my career. So it goes, you're the movie guy. So I built a film camera for 1 issue, and then on the movie issue, and then I built the Ghostbusters pack because it's from a movie. So everything that I've done so far has been kind of movie related and related to the topic of the issue. So it can get a little challenging, actually.
That's intense. So what's your process? Do you conceptualize ideas, run stuff over with Joe, and then kind of build a model and then do L-Draw, or some combination of that?
It's most of the time I just kind of do it. I have taken run the idea past him first and then not proceeded, and I've had where I've gone I'm thinking about doing this, and he's like, yes, do that now. For the most part, though, he just kind of lets me alone to come up with something. I usually tell him what I'm doing, and he gets excited about it, and I never hear from him again until I actually get it finished, or mostly finished, or until I run into trouble, because he's way better at building instructions than I am. Yeah, I've actually learned most of what I know about it from him. My process, sometimes I start in bricks, sometimes I start on LEGO Digital Designer, probably about 50-50, and you can only build so far in Digital Designer most of the time for what I'm trying to get accomplished, so I'll get it as far as I can, then I'll port that out in an L-Draw file format and bring it into what's called Bricksmith, which is an L-Draw compatible program on the Mac. And it's usually kind of messed up at that point, so I've got to swap out some parts, I've got some orientation problems on things. If I'm doing flexible elements, that's a whole other can of worms.
Oh, man.
Go through until that model's all cleaned up and good, then go through and do the steps. And that's where you actually break down the model itself to what's going to be in step 1, what's going to be in step 2, what's going to be in step 3. You actually have steps broken down in the model with just those parts in it. And that's a real tedious process because you have to figure out which people standing outside. You have to figure out what's going to be in the next step. So you're building from the bottom up or from the front back or however you're building it. Sometimes you have to flip the model around and stuff like that. So it's tedious to get that part done. And then once you finish that, you bring it into a program called LPub, and that allows you to use the L-Draw rendering engine and create the instructions themselves. And that one is also tedious because you have to figure out which steps are going to be on the same page, how they're going to be oriented, the size of the pieces, if you're going to stack it, instructions will cut the page in half, if you're going to carry it over the next one, if sub-assemblies are going to be breakouts or callouts. It's really complicated.
So basically what you're saying is that it doesn't take any effort at all.
None whatsoever.
I guess there's whole departments devoted to this at LEGO, right? So the fact that you can actually kind of do it yourself or completely do it yourself is pretty amazing, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun too. I mean, it kind of sound bad, but it's actually a lot of fun. It's a challenge, but I kind of like that type of thing, so I enjoy doing it.
It's kind of in the same vein as your movie work, sort of, kind of.
Is it?
I don't know. I mean, using computers to do really complex things with images and stuff. And
well, yeah, okay. I mean, I suppose I'm pre-wired for it because I've got into that, and I just gravitate to creative type software. So I guess some of the concepts, the concept as far as 3D goes, the actual 3D process of constructing the stuff, I understand that fully from my previous career, so I understand that part.
There you go. There you go.
Well, it does, that carried over.
Yeah.
All works together good in the end.
Yep.
Now, definitely wanted to make sure we talked about a few more of your builds here, and one that I see behind you that was a pretty cool build you did is the, I believe it's from At Midnight, the TV show with Chris Hardwick.
Yeah.
Right back there on the shelf, you've got it there. Is that pretty fragile?
It's not too bad.
Okay. Can move it somewhat.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the posture on this, and I couldn't, like most of my stuff, when I get it all done and I'm trying to photograph, it's impossible. But I like his posture on this. He's kind of like that, he's jaunty.
Mm-hmm.
He got his podium built as well and his Mac.
Okay, got the whole setup there.
Yep.
So what inspired you to build that? You just a big fan of the show and just watching it was like, hey, it'd be cool if I built this from the show?
Yeah, that's pretty much how all my MOCs happen. I keep actually a running list on my phone of things. Hey, I should build that. I'll put it on the list, and it just keeps growing. Like I can never, ever, in one lifetime, build all the stuff that I have on my list. So, and plus, with the time that I spend on all the different things that I do between the Model for Brick Journal, my show that I do on YouTube, the blogging every day, live builds, events, all the other stuff that I'm doing, I find that the time to actually build my own stuff is dwindling ever more every day.
24 hours in a day, right?
There is. Like, I wish I could figure out a way to increase it.
Me too.
So were there any big challenges with this build then, or was it fairly, didn't take you that long, fairly simple to put together from the show?
I built this in about 2 sessions, 2 sittings. First session, I built his head, and I started experimenting with how to do his chest and the front, so the main frame of the podium. And then the next session, I decided I was just going to go ahead and finish it. So in about 3-4 hours, I finished it up.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it turned out really nice there. You can see it definitely recognizable from the TV show. So yeah, I think it is.
The picture that I have on Facebook or in Flickr actually has pupils. Here he's got kind of dead, soulless eyes because I didn't want to actually alter the bricks.
Now,
Yeah,
does Ian actually alter the bricks? Do you know, Ian Heath?
He does.
He
does.
Okay.
He actually makes marks on them, and he does it. And I might actually do that to this one. I'm going to go. I got tickets to go see the show on September 10th, and I'm thinking about packing him up and taking him with me and say, Chris, sign it, please. If I could get his signature on the podium, I think it'd be even better.
Yeah, I think that sounds achievable.
I think so. I don't know how much they're going to enjoy me walking in with a box full of brick. They might look at me funny. They have trouble getting past security.
Is it a bomb?
Yeah, exactly. What you got in there, kid? That's toys.
My Lego.
Yeah. Like you do.
Never leave the house without it.
It's never far away, I can tell you that. Even when I go on location. When I went to London, I thought I'm going to take this one set and I'll just build with it whatever I can get. Or I'll just, not build for a little while. I brought the old Hoth set. It had a tauntaun and a little cannon in it. That whatever, and a silk meter, I think. Whatever that set was. That was the one I brought with me. It was in my suitcase. And I don't think I lasted 2 weeks before I was starting to paste the walls. And I had taken that, put it together, taken it apart, put it together like a couple different things. Started trying to build other stuff with it, and I was like, I don't have enough bricks. So I ended up heading over to the LEGO store at Blue Water, I think it's called. It's like an hour trip on the train to go to the LEGO store. So, and I needed more. I just kept heading out and buying more. By the time I was done, I had like 4 gallons of bricks in my little tiny flat in London. I went out on this epic journey to get a table so that I could actually build on because I was tired of building on the floor in my flat. What counts as a furnished flat in London is up to a lot. It holds a lot into the description. Leaves a lot to be desired most of the time.
Folding chair.
I had a futon, a little table, and I mean little table. The thing was about this wide. 2 chairs, and Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's it. A futon and a table and 2 chairs. That's furnished.
What else could you need?
Yeah.
Yep. That little table served for a little while, and then I needed a bigger table. Even that was getting life in London is hard. Let me tell you, it's difficult. So just getting that table was like an all-day adventure.
So, have you ever been able to make it to any overseas LEGO conventions or visit with any lugs or anything like that? Since as you've done travel in different places.
Yeah, I actually joined the Brickish when I was in the UK, and went to the event they call STEAM. It's kind of its slang term. It's the Great Western Lego Show, I think they call it. Everyone just calls it STEAM because it takes place at a place called STEAM, a railroad museum in Swindon.
Swindon, yeah. I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually went to that event. That was really cool. That's where I actually met Pete Reed, the exosuit designer.
Sure.
Awesome guy. Love him.
So what was it like being around AFOLs in another country? Are they the same? Do they smell the same as they do here? What's it?
Pretty much the same kind of run of people. The thing I found interesting is they have different slang terms for different parts. Where, like, I've never heard of a Rory before, but that's a 2x4 brick.
Really?
And,
Huh.
yeah, they've got different slang terms. I don't remember a whole lot of them. I've forgotten them.
Cheese slope or chiclet?
Cheese slope, I think they still call them that.
Okay.
The 1x1 round tile, they call them pips. And I've actually always called them pips. But I don't remember where I heard it. I was probably reading an article from a UK builder when I saw that, and I was like, yeah, that's a good name for those things. We call them pips. which is like a UK slang term for a seed.
Ah.
I think another one I've heard is the what is it? The headlight brick they call like a washing machine brick. Is that because it kind of looks like a washing machine with the front loader part there? So
it's like the washing machine. Everyone's flat in the kitchen of all places. There's a washing machine, no dryer, but a washer and clotheslines, and so you hang your clothes everywhere to get them dry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's some different terms over there, but overall about the same as far as the conventions and things go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they were getting ready. They were ramping up for their first, what they called an American-style event convention, AFOLCon. And I didn't actually get to go to that. It was going to happen like right as I was leaving. So I was like ramping up to do it, thinking I was going to do it, but then we finished the project, and I elected not to stay on to finish John Carter of Mars because I could just kind of see the writing on the wall. It looked like it was going to be terrible. It was. Dodged the bullet on that one. I came home what they would consider early. I considered like 7 months too late, and didn't get to go to that. And that was a convention where they were going to do, have all the people there as attendees, and then bring in the public, and then have like American-style events where like the blind build and stuff like that. More like the conventions that you guys are used to. Because STEAM is not really like that. STEAM, you go and set up. I think it was on a Friday. You have 1 day to set up. They usually do a dinner, but it's a really small affair. There's not that many people involved. We did do a team speed build, and that was like, but it was more kind of impromptu, and I think there was only 3 sets, or maybe 4. And then that was it. The next day, the public came in, we all showed the stuff, and then when they were done, we packed up, and everyone left the next day. So it was a really fast and not very social event. All the socializing kind of happened on the setup day, and then you were done. Not like BrickCon, where it's like 4 days of total debauchery.
Yeah, that's how it is with the U.S. conventions. Like Brick Fair, you've got adding even more days previous to the actual, when the public comes in. So, yeah, I think that's definitely, I guess, a more American-style event then, where you've got a lot of days of, just interacting with each other before you actually display.
Yeah.
But short and sweet is good, right?
What's that?
Oh, sorry, I said short and sweet is good sometimes, right?
Yeah. I got to see a lot of cool things, got to meet a lot of cool people. Ed Dement, if you've ever seen that giant
monster, what is his?
Brick Monster or Monster Brick?
Monster Brick, isn't that Armstrong out of San Diego? What's his name?
Yeah, they have very similar
What's it?
names.
Yeah, God.
Monster Brick is, I think, is...
This is not
I
good.
can't remember. Yeah, Matt Armstrong is one of them, and he's the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where actually he premiered that giant Intrepid that he built.
Mm-hmm.
The one that's on display in the Intrepid now. That was the first time that he displayed it, so I got to see it like in person right there with the guy who built it. That was really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Very funny guy. Very awesome guy.
And now it's in New York, right?
It's on display on the Intrepid.
Yeah, I actually had a chance to visit about a year and a half ago the Intrepid there, and I didn't realize it was there at the time. And I walked onto the ship and saw it there, and then I remembered, oh yeah, this is on the ship here. It was really cool. Yeah, that's an awesome build.
Yep, it's amazing. And then I got to see Pete Reed's like full display. Him and Tim Goddard, the guys who wrote the book, the Lego Space book.
But of course, no
half
Star
the stuff that's in that book, well, maybe not quite half, but I've like held and looked at and photographed some of it. I was hanging out at Pete's like every weekend for a long time there, just because it was like this respite of Lego fun and not the drudgery that was daily life in London.
One can only imagine. So they like adopted you as like a fellow AFOL kind of.
Yep, yeah, I was like kind of one of them. It was great.
Like one of Charles Dickens' orphan children or something. I don't know.
I still keep in touch with a lot of those guys too. It's great.
That's awesome.
Friends on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Friends
Very
across
cool.
the pond.
Yes, exactly. Exchange a Christmas box with Pete every year.
I'm sure many good things in there.
He had better send me a signed copy of the exosuit, or he's going to be in trouble.
Oh.
Now, I wanted a few other builds that I wanted to make sure we talked about here, and I'm not sure how many of these you have still built with you. One was the visual effects stage, and we've talked a lot about obviously all the movie work you've done, and this was a really interesting build where you build a massive like green screen with a bunch of green tiles that I thought was really cool. Fairly unique. You don't see that a lot of places.
Yeah, I kind of have a somewhat unique perspective on the behind the scenes thing with Lego and movies. And I have a few friends who are in the industry, or at least were in the industry, who play with Lego and are active in the AFOL community. So they understand what's going on. But a lot of people, they see some behind the scene pictures, but I've been there many times for over a quarter of a century now. I've been doing this stuff. So it's just kind of in my blood. So when it came time, I got approached by, actually I got the book right here. Hold on a second.
Bringing out some more cool stuff.
More cool stuff.
A never-ending supply.
So when Megan contacted me about doing stuff for the book, my letter from the publisher. Find my part in it here. It's been a while since I looked at it. I don't remember where I'm at. My voice is getting bad. Let me go if I sound too terrible.
Still sounding good right now. See if you can find your page in the book.
It's in here somewhere. This is riveting stuff. Oh, there it is. There we go. On the set of Star Clutch.
Okay.
So when she approached me about being involved in the book, I was like, that sounds like fun. Chance to be immortalized in print. And pitched her the idea of her character Megs visiting me on location or on a set of a space movie in production. So we go to the visual effects stage. And as part of the book, there's the bad guys kind of busting stuff up. So it's the Destructor? Yeah. So he breaks the ship, so you get the instructions on how to build my little galactic adventurer, which is kind of an NCS mini version of the Galaxy Explorer. Then they get it fixed, and we visit the puppeteering stage with those puppets being built. So go to the green screen stage with the little cockpit on a motion base. And all this stuff is kind of based on how these things really happen on a set. This set here, the set itself, the hallway, is actually by Pete Reed. He sent me a whole box of fun stuff. So I built the stage and all the stuff that's on it, but he built the set. And he makes this little homage, or his little cameo, right there. That's his sig fig working on a robot in the foreground. If you watch over the next few panels, the robot falls off the table and breaks, and he's quite dismayed by that. Then we do a little adventure where she gets to actually be in the movie because the director likes her look. When he puts her in a robot suit, you can't even tell it's her. So, yeah, I'm in this book.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really cool that you were able to get some of your models in there and stuff. So is that the LEGO Adventure book is the name of that?
This is the LEGO Adventure book, Volume 2.
Okay. So yeah, if you haven't bought that, maybe you should go out and check it out someplace and see if you can spot some of Tommy's stuff in there.
Yeah, it's like 100 models that you can build in it. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the
Nice.
beautiful Lego book too, and
Mike Doyle?
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, I'm in that book too. Yeah, every once in a while I kind of remember, like, oh yeah, I kind of built some okay stuff, or I guess it doesn't suck because it's showing up in places like this, so it makes me feel good.
That is
I should
awesome.
build more. I should build something.
You need a book now, Tommy. When's yours coming out?
I thought about it, but again, it's like my time. Where does it all go?
Use the extra the hours after 24 in the day to do it.
Exactly. If I could get those, I would take them.
Yeah.
Believe me.
Haven't you heard? There's 30 hours in a day now.
If I could just get rid of sleep, I could gain those 6 hours every day too.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Some way eventually you might see the Brick Nerd book come out hopefully sometime in the future.
I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility. I've thought about it.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure everyone would love that. That'd be really cool. So definitely something to look forward to, possibly in the future. And now a few of your other builds that I wanted to touch on here. One is some of the stuff you're kind of known for that you've done with Ian Heath over the years, the bricks of character that we'll talk a little bit more about here. A couple that you had here were the Jack Sparrow and Barbossa that you've done. You built a few of those. I don't know if those are still built or not, but those were really cool builds that you did.
They're in the box, so they are built. They are still built.
Mm-hmm. So how did you and Ian first get together on that and start kind of that theme?
That was at BrickCon 2008 or 2009. Both he and I had this was our first convention. We'd never met before, except a little bit of a brief exchange on Flickr before, because I had uploaded pictures of the Colbert Report. I built this really big set of the talk show, and he got a strong reaction to it. He thought it was great. So that's where we got to know each other. And then when we showed up at the con, both of us were a little dismayed that there was no place to put our stuff. It didn't fit a category. It wasn't space. It wasn't castle. It wasn't town. So it became art. And we were over there, and there's like, mosaics and a couple of sculptures, and we were like, this stuff doesn't belong here. So there was this whole table section that was kind of unoccupied in the back corner. And Ian goes, let's just put our stuff over there. Like, okay. And then we went around looking for stuff that kind of fit into that category that was a little out of place, especially stuff that ended up on the table in art. And we were like, come on over to the new spot. We don't know what it is, but it's going to be in the corner over there. So we just set up all the character stuff that we could find in that one corner. And had a good crowd reaction from it. It was fun to have it all there in one place. And we just got to talking about it. It was like, this just needs to be a thing. So we came up with the name Bricks of Character, and I designed a logo for it, and we decided this is going to be a thing. We're going to do this at the shows from now on. We set up the category for the first Bricks by the Bay, and then I understand that it was actually a category at one of the Brick Magic conventions.
I think so, yes. I do remember that, I believe.
Yep, I had nothing to do with it. It just became a thing on its own. So that was just great. I hope everybody does it because it's
a thing that's very deserving of being a thing.
I agree. Totally.
And is it a blog?
What's that?
Is it a blog? I think, is there...
Ian used to run a blog called The Living Brick.
The Living Brick, okay.
Yeah. He doesn't do that anymore. not really. I don't think it's like completely dead, but he posted for the last time on it, and he actually ended up joining up with the Brothers Brick. He's actually a blogger for them now.
He's upgraded himself.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's going to be dead entirely, if he's going to resurrect it in some shape or form, but for now it's a dormant blog. But he's still very active in the character building area. He's way more active than I am. Better builder too. He's so good.
Ian is amazing.
He is. He's totally amazing. I am in awe with everything he puts out.
Yeah. Now, are there standards for the bricks of characters? You guys have done this over the years. Have you evolved some standards, or is it kind of just as long as you're building, like a character or a person, there isn't a whole lot you need to work within?
It's the only really overall kind of rule I would say is no minifigs. It's brick built characters. It has to be a character really, otherwise it doesn't belong in the category. So it's brick built characters from pop culture. It's the best way to describe it. And there's everything there. There's characters from video games. There's movie characters. There's scenes from movies. There's standalone characters that are just things that people have made up. There's a lot of really amazing work that comes out of it. And it's always a really popular booth at BrickCon, or area I guess you'd call it. We set up those stanchions there. They're pretty much packed with people from opening to closing.
Oh yeah, I can imagine that. Some of that awesome stuff that you and Ian and some of the other builders do in that area. Now, do you remember any of the characters you brought to the first, when you and Ian first grabbed your own table and started it? You remember any of the characters you had there?
I had the Colbert Report, and the stuff that he brought he had some characters from Battlestar Galactica and Star Trek. He had his what do you call it? It's the Star Wars characters. It's like the Force Unleashed or something like that. It's a whole bunch of Star Wars characters all put together. He had them on this cool big rotating. I think it was like a sushi display or something. This big glass rotating tabletop. They was sitting on a table. It had all the characters on it, slowly rotating. I was like, that's cool. You think of doing that? And then there were, like his Stephen Hawking there, and Sarah Palin, Cheeky Wink, and a couple other smaller sculptures. But that's pretty much it. It didn't occupy all that much space. It was one corner, and it was only because Lino only brought so many cars for his section. If he had brought all the cars, that would have taken up the entire table. We would have never been having any space. The whole thing could have never happened right then.
Aww.
So I guess thanks to Lino for not bringing an insane amount of cars taking up all the space.
Thanks for not doing that.
Yeah. So now then, that's you got kind of the bricks of character that is going there. How many people usually participate now, and as you build it up over the years? Is there usual participation rate at BrickCon?
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's easily over 100 MOCs on the table at every event. Sometimes, and we've counted like characters before. We've counted, well, even at like the first Bricks by the Bay, there were over 100 characters on our little, I think it was 2 8-foot tables. That's all we had, and we counted all of Angus's cube dudes as one MOC. So if you counted all of them, it would be easily 150, 160 characters on this one table.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. Yeah, it's cool that that's been built up so much. So definitely some cool bricks of character stuff you're working on there. Now, do you have any more planned for the future? Any other big projects coming up, or any more bricks of character that you're planning on working on soon?
All of my build time that I do have right now, I'm actually building. You can't see it here, but right there is stuff for my next brick film. I haven't revealed what I'm doing it yet, but it's right there, and that's taking up all of my my build time that I have. I do have a couple things I want to get done before BrickCon, but it doesn't look too hopeful, just time-wise, and because I want to get this stuff done. But while I wait for the next Bricklink order from that, I'm going to probably jump into it. I haven't decided exactly what I'm doing yet. Oh, I got a message from my wife. They want to know if I'm going to eat with them. Probably not tonight. Yeah, event-wise, going to BrickCon, excited to do that. Build-wise, all I can say is that's going to be really cool when it's done.
And no, that's not the only brick film that you've ever done, right? You're pretty competent in the area as well, right?
Well, I do all right. We actually did the other Beyond the Brick, the the Brickumentary. It's actually really technically not out yet. It was at Tribeca, and it's been at a couple film festivals, and we were hyping it at a panel at San Diego Comic-Con, but it's not out yet. It's not a theatrical release yet.
So
Otherwise,
tell us, Tommy, when will it be out?
It's supposed to be out first quarter of next year. That's the last word I got from the producer.
On DVD, Netflix?
No, they're going to actually go for a limited theatrical release for as much as footprints as you can get with a documentary. They never really get very big exposure. And then it'll do like the normal trickle-down route where it goes to pay-per-view and it goes to cable and it goes to TV and DVD eventually, or Blu-ray.
Interesting. Now, I believe we've been enlightened about this before, but could you maybe give us a little bit of insight into why the lead time between it getting really, really hyped at Tribeca and it being all over the press and then finally being able to make it into the screens of most of America? Like, why is that so insane?
On this particular case, sometimes it's not the same for motion pictures as it is for this type of independent feature. In the case of this one, it was backed as far as the film goes. They had enough money to make the movie. Then you do the film festivals looking for a distributor, and that's the people who are going to pony up the money to actually distribute it and get it out into theaters and strike the deals for all the overseas markets, the pay-per-view, the DVD, and all that stuff. It requires hundreds of contracts to be drafted, and it takes a long time to do. And when you couple that with the amount of time that it takes you to go to the different festivals and show it to people, then that's how you end up without so much time. It took them time to go out and sell it. Now it's going to take them time to strike the deals. And then once that's done, it takes time to actually get everyone on board and do the distribution on it.
Interesting. So it's like they kind of put the cake in the oven. There's nobody to eat it when it got out.
Effectively, yeah.
Ah.
So they had backing to actually make a delicious cake, but no way to get it to market.
Interesting. So it's like Iron Man. They have there are people waiting, when it comes out of the oven. They're like, oh, well, we got it. Here, we're gonna boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Okay.
On something like that, the whole thing's all set up, and you're working on. You've already got a release date before you're even done with the visual effects.
Yeah.
You've just been handed all your plates. They're saying we need a commercial, and you're like, oh, this is going to be the terrible version of this shot, and they're like, we don't care, get it on the air. So. Yeah,
so now, Tom, how did you come to collaborate with the documentary? Did they approach you? Did you approach them? How did that work?
Right. I initially contacted them when they were just putting the feelers out to the AFOL community, and it was more from the standpoint of, hey, it's me and Ian going, we do the characters thing. We know you're coming to BrickCon. Come see what we do. This is not the standard type of stuff. It's not castles, and it's not trains, and it's not town stuff. So that was my initial contact with them, and was like, yeah, okay, see you there. And then when I got there, I don't know if it was before they actually got there, they discovered that I actually work in film. And then the stuff that I brought, I had converted one of the sets I built for the LEGO book into the theme, and I created a new cockpit of like a big cow head. And it was all pigs and cows, and it was behind the scenes of Moo Raker. It was my little set that I built, and they became fascinated with that and the fact that I have film experience and wanted to talk to me more about it because I brought to the table knowledge of visual effects and knowledge of the AFOL community, so it made me a good match to take on what they were going to do as a computer animated segment for the opening of the feature. And because they have a whole history of LEGO at the beginning of the movie. That's what I actually got involved in. When the budget just wasn't there to do it as CG, they wanted to know if it could be done with stop motion. I was like, totally. And they wanted to know if I could do it, and I was like, totally. At that point, I didn't have a studio, so we did a quick test. Me and James Moore, who's a spastic Chihuahua on YouTube, great animator. He happens to live in Lompoc, one of the best animators. Yes, one of the best brick filmers out there happens to live in Lompoc. So we hooked up and we made a quick test in my living room, and eventually struck the deal with him. And as soon as that was struck, I rented this studio space in the place next door. That side was design and building, and this side was production. I had 2 tables with multiple sets going on at all time, and when he was filming one, we were finishing building and lighting and setting up the other, and we just moved back and forth, and cranked out about 8 minutes of animation in 2 months.
Wow.
A crazy amount for stop motion.
That is insane. So it was just like a eat, sleep, build type arrangement?
No, actually, it was pretty chill. We came in about 9 o'clock in the morning most days and left about 6:30 at night. I work 7 days a week regardless because I own the company and I'm blogging every single day, and I haven't taken a day off basically since I started this thing, with the exception of 2 days on a boat when I have no access to the internet this year, and 3 days on a boat last year. I went on Disney cruises. Those are the only days I haven't worked since I started Brickmate, which was like a year and 2 months ago.
Mm.
It is vacation though, right?
Yeah, I always say if you love what you do, it's not really work, and it's kind of the case. It does get to be work every once in a while, and it becomes kind of a bit of a drudgery. And there were parts, we got a little tiring during the production, but for the most part, it was just a lot of fun. I get to play with the lights and brick and cameras and make funny things happen and edit the whole thing. We had great autonomy on it too. It was a lot of creative control. I had a script. We made some modifications to the script. I did an animatic. They were like, "Looks great," and I was like, "Okay." And then pretty much what you see in the movie is what I did. I put the music on it. I did the sound effects. Most of the music they actually ended up getting the same license for, and sound effects. They grabbed all my sound effects. So almost everything you see, with the exception of like 1 or 2 music tracks and a handful of sound effects, was what I did in Premiere right here on this laptop.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Now, how long have you been doing brick films then? Was this one of your first ones, or I'd imagine you've been doing a fair bit before that?
No, this is actually the first one I've done recently. I did a lot way back when I was in high school. I did it. It was Super 8 back then. I did it with actual film. Then you do it and not know what you were doing at the time, and you find out 2 weeks later that, oh man, I suck. Now it's so much easier to do with an all-digital setup. But the animation on this was the first time I'd done stop motion. What little I did for 30 years. So it's been a long time.
That is wild.
Luckily James was there, because even the stuff I did animate, it's just no comparison to the stuff that he was doing. When the camera moves, I'm better at moving the camera than he is, but he's definitely better at moving at the figures than I am. The thing that I was mostly doing was overall producing and directing the whole thing, but I also did all the cinematography for it.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it sounds like it turned out good then. Unfortunately, we can't see yet, but we'll look forward to seeing that when the documentary is released to the main viewing public.
You can get a little peek if you go to my YouTube channel, the Brick Nerd TV. There's a clip on there called Nerdception. Sorry, a clip called Nerdception. It's the biggest shot we did for the show. Well, the story behind it is they invited us to do our own animation to put behind our credits and the credits at the end of the film. So we decided to do a stop-motion recreation of the giant setup that we had to do that took this entire room up for the biggest shot of the film. So that's actually this set here. This is Brick Nerd Studios. And this is a recreation of the actual setup from the film. So if you watch Nerdception, you'll get a peek at this and the actual shot. And I won't say any more than that, but it's kind of fun.
So watch Nerdception.
Watch the reception. It's funny.
Very cool. I'll make sure to include a link to that video in the description here so people can find that easily. Yeah, definitely check that out. So you can see a little portion of the documentary there.
I got to show it in front of like 400 people at Comic-Con. It was awesome. Big sound on a big screen. It was great.
And so, what was the Comic-Con panel like? You mentioned that earlier. How describe that experience?
That was actually the second panel I've been on, or the third. Second or third. Joe Mino put it together from Brick Journal, and it was basically a behind-the-scenes look at the making of the documentary. So I was there. One of the directors. There's the two directors of the film. One of the directors, the producer, and Nathan Sawaya, who's featured in the film, was actually there as well. And he introduced us. We all just basically said what we did on the film and talked a little bit about what we do in the LEGO community or the filmmaking community. Then we watched a little bit of the film and then talked about our contribution to it, and then opened up the questions to the audience and answered questions.
And I'm sure the room was very, very empty, right?
It was like the year before. It was just crazy. The year before, we did a thing on pop culture and bricks, or no, the brick is art. It was all kind of an artist panel. It was me and Brandon Davis and Joe Mino. Brandon Griffith, I think.
Brandon Griffith, yeah.
Yeah, he did the what do you call it when you do like the MC?
Moderator?
The what?
He was the moderator?
He was the moderator. Brandon Griffith was the moderator, but also a contributor to the whole thing, so he would talk about it. I think Joe just didn't want to get up and talk for the very beginning. And then, what was I talking about? Lost my train of thought.
Something about a panel about some Lego something Comic-Con?
Yeah. Oh, that's right. We went up to actually get ready to do the panel, and there was a long line of people all against the wall. If you've ever been to Comic-Con, the lines that form for things are ridiculous. I saw that line, and I was like, oh, great. Whatever's in there now ran long. All these people are waiting to see something cool. We're going to get bumped. So I'm thinking, our panel's not going to happen. It's going to happen an hour later or something else. So I go over and ask, what are you guys here to see? And I go, Lego. I was like, holy crap. So I'm right over there. Yes. There's like 400 people over there. So we packed the room. We did it again this year, too. It's crazy.
That is awesome.
The room has got a capacity of 450, and there was barely an empty seat and people standing in the back.
That is ridiculous. So are you the only Lego panel, do you know? Or what's the Lego scene like at Comic-Con outside of the giveaways? Because who cares about the giveaways?
I think there was... I know that Kevin Ulrich, who also helped out on the Beyond a Brick project, he had a panel for Brotherhood Workshop or for How It Should Have Ended, one of those two. So he was kind of tangentially connected to that. He did a great video for The Hobbit, I think. Yeah, Desolation of Smaug. One of the new sets coming out. And then... I don't know. I don't think that of any other panel that was Lego related. There might have been something else that I wasn't aware of it.
But you were on the best Lego panel, and that's all that matters.
Well, we're the best because we're the only one.
Yeah.
Now, have you attempted to get any of the giveaways or anything like that? I know there's always the big controversy every year. Have you tried any of those? I'd be interested to hear your experience if you have.
Yeah, well, not really. I didn't expect to. I didn't plan to. I went to preview night, which is the first time I went to preview night. Everyone was saying, "Oh, you got to go to preview night. You didn't go to preview night. You got to go to preview night." This is like my third Comic-Con. So I was like, this year I'll go to preview night. It was terrible. It's like every other day except more people because there's no panels going on, so everybody crammed into the room. Apparently, before it was just vendors, press, and professionals. That's the only people that could be in there, and it was like the cool night for Comic-Con because it was less crowded and like there's lots of really cool things that you could do. No longer. Now it's like everyone just jams into there and they try to get 150 Transformers. They're dragging them around the hallway. Everyone's just clamoring to get the exclusives that are going to be on preview night only. So it becomes this mad dash, and it was no fun. No fun whatsoever. I finally had enough and bailed on it. But by the time we pretty much walked straight in, it was a long line to get in. And we didn't get in the line like the one that people were waiting in for hours ahead of time. But we walked straight in as soon as they opened the door for the long line we had to go through to get to it. By the time we got there was a line wrapped around the LEGO booth. That was all the stuff that they were going to sell that day. All the tickets had been given out for the purchase ones you could buy. So these people had waited in line for like 4 hours, ran to the booth, and got in line for that, and waited for another hour just to go around the booth and buy 3 little sets. Or up to 3 little sets, one of each. I just wasn't willing to do that. I know some people were there like 6 o'clock in the morning on the other days so that they could go straight to the LEGO booth and get that item. I wasn't willing to do that either, so I just didn't. I didn't have hope of getting any, and I didn't plan to, and so therefore I wasn't disappointed. And then the minifigures. Actually, I have footage in my latest episode. You can see what it looked like, but the line to get in to do that was like a half-mile long, and it's literally. I plotted it out on Google Earth because I wanted to be kind of accurate on my show to see what it was. I plotted the whole thing out, and the whole thing, if you went all the way to the end like it was, half a mile. And people waited like up to 3 hours.
To be told that they couldn't get a fig?
In the baking San Diego sun. No, what you did is you go to the front of the line, when you finally make your way through, and there's an iPad sitting there. And you go up and touch the iPad, and, supposedly you got a 50-50 chance, but, I watched, like, 6 people in front of me go tap, no, tap, no, tap, no, tap, no. I kind of sort of line jumped because I was filming the whole thing, but I made a pact with the girl behind me that if I won, she was going to get the figure, so it was kind of cool with everybody. So I got to shoot the whole thing with my little crappy Steadicam. And I went through and tapped, and I didn't win either. So basically you go through this entire thing, and you go away sunburnt and empty-handed.
Jesus.
Yeah, and I did it every day. So I went out there to document it once. No intention of getting a figure. And if I had got a figure, I had full plans to give it away to someone else in line. And I didn't even bother getting even close to the place on the other days. Just not worth it.
I guess you could look at that as some serious dedication on those people's part, trying to get some figs there.
Well, the sad thing is when it's all said and done, within minutes of the whole thing starting, and within hours later, there were hundreds of items available on eBay. So, and in half the pictures, you could recognize the carpet in the background as from a convention center. So people were waiting in line, and then immediately putting it on eBay for $200. So forget about all the people who are actually truly dedicated to LEGO and really want that figure for their collection. Most of the people in that line are scalpers and hoarders. They're just looking to throw it onto eBay immediately. No other way to account for the numbers of items that were on sale that same day.
How noble.
By the end of the 4 days, I think we did a search right before Joe Mino came to my studio to do a live build the day after Comic-Con. And we did a search right before then. There were 750 items available as LEGO Comic-Con exclusives.
Jesus.
750, yeah.
Yeah, I think people see the money that can be made and just figure it's worth it, they'll go for it. But yeah, that is too bad when other fans can't get it then.
Yep.
Now, we mentioned BrickCon earlier. Hopefully, will you be making it there again this year?
I am. I've already got my room booked and my flight booked. I'm going to be there. I may not have much to carry with me. I might drag him along if I get him signed. But I'm planning on bringing some of the sets from the documentary. So I'll probably bring that one, and I've got like 4 others in my garage at home that are kind of packable, I guess you'd call it. I can break them down easy enough. They're built modular so that we can swing them around and change them up for different angles and get the wall out of the way to shoot it from the camera. To make everything with flexibility in mind.
Yeah. Now, will you be able to make it to any more conventions or shows this year?
I'm planning on going to DesignerCon in November. Other than that, no other shows on the forefront.
So Tommy, what kind of coverage are you going to get at BrickCon? Are you going to set up a little studio maybe?
I would love to. I need to talk to Wayne about how I can secure some broadband. Because right now the internet access that you have there is kind of terrible. So if I could figure out a way of hooking up broadband, I'd love to do something there, even just like a live build or something on the floor itself would be great. I wanted to do something last year. Last year I made like little flags for my microphone, and I was planning on interviewing people, and it just felt so wrong at every step of the way. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. It's just not me. So,
we would never do that.
No. I'll leave that type of stuff to you guys. It didn't work for me at all. I definitely do more. I'm more on the creative filmmaker side of things. So, and then just being stupid. That's kind of what I'm known for.
It's all good. It's very good, actually.
Well, thank you.
So when are you going to make it to the East Coast, Tommy?
I don't know. I keep thinking about it and keep talking about it. It's just the time that it takes to, the window that it always, like, okay, now is the time to book to go to Brick Fair. Now's the time to make the plans for it. I've always got something else going on, or I just have no money.
Yeah.
So,
it's not, those transcontinental flights don't come cheap.
No. Nope, they don't.
Tisk.
The hotel and the rental car, and you have to pack your extra trunk full of stuff, and yeah, it's not a cheap endeavor.
Not at all. Yeah. One of these years, right? Yeah.
I'm hoping. I really want to go.
Ian made it to Brickworld this year, so maybe you and Ian at Brickworld in the future sometime, something like that.
Yeah, I think actually Ian went to one East Coast event, didn't he?
He went to Brick World. I don't. He wasn't at Brick Fair. I don't think.
Maybe did he go to Brick World?
He went to Brick World. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So he's lucky. He got to go to one of the East Coast events. I don't know if Joe's planning on doing Brick Magic again. That'd be fun to do. Go down there. So you're in North Carolina, right?
Oh, of course. Actually, Brick Magic took that was 10 minutes away from my house, Tommy.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So it was a lot of fun. Maybe it will happen again. We'll have to see. I
hope so.
Fingers crossed.
I'm not sure why it's not happening, Joe.
Don't worry about it, Tommy.
No, I think too. What was that?
Maybe someday I'll get to an East Coast event.
Do it for the kids.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they need your help. But to finish it out for us tonight, I think, do you have any dream Lego set, or if through your years building with Legos, there a set you've always wanted them to make?
I'd really like for someone to come up either on Lego ideas or just Lego to do it. I'd love to have a Dark Crystal series, a set, a line from Dark Crystal. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I think that would be awesome. And every one of the Zelda sets that gets through the Lego ideas, I'm always backing that and hoping that's going to come through, and that never seems to happen as well. I know that licensing becomes probably the main hiccup on those. That's probably the only sets that I think would be neat to have someday. Otherwise, I've always been perfectly fine with the stuff that comes out from Lego. Everyone goes, "Oh, that's kind of crap," or "I'm disappointed in that." I was like, "What's wrong with it? It's great."
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
line comes along, I just don't get. I don't really get the Chima stuff, but I'm not the demographic. I understand that.
Well, and the demographic, right? It's like this is a lot of expensive marketing research they've done to try and figure out what the kids want, Yeah. That's Chima. Apparently they want Chima. For 75% off, maybe they want it, but
And Bionicle's making a comeback, so I've never got into that too much. I did have kids, so we have plenty of it laying around, but yeah, I don't get into the stuff that's directly targeted at the very young audience, but with the exception of Star Wars, I'm just totally into that. Obviously, I'm a total nerd for that stuff too.
Star Wars appeals to all ages.
Yeah, it's universal.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, I think that some cool ideas there, that possibly something to look forward to in the future. Then maybe they'll make some of your dream sets someday.
Maybe. If not, I'll just make them myself.
Mm-hmm. You can always mock them up yourself. That's the great thing.
Yep.
So possibly something in the future, though. But it was great having you on the show, Tommy. Great talking with you, and really loved hearing some more about your builds you've done throughout the years and your work on the Beyond the Brick Brickumentary, and featured in some books as well. Make sure you check out those books too. So it was awesome talking with you.
It's great talking to you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Good stuff.
No problem. And where are the best places for people to check you out and follow what you're doing on the YouTube page and the website and all of that?
You can go to bricknerd.com and check out the website. You can go to Bricknerd TV on YouTube. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and
Twitter.
Yeah, one of them might just be Bricknerd, I think. I can never remember. For some reason, on Twitter, I had to use the Bricknerd because somebody was squatting on Bricknerd. They made 3 posts in 2009 and disappeared forever. And I think the same thing happened on Instagram. So on both of those, I'm the Bricknerd. I can't remember when I'm on Facebook. I think that one's the Bricknerd too. But you can find the links for it if you just go to the bricknerd.com.
And now, Tommy, if people want to support what you're doing, what can they do? Buy a T-shirt? Give a couple bucks? How does one do that?
They can go to the website and scroll down the side, and there's a little donate button. And every little bit helps.
Aha.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So yeah, and I'll make sure to include links to all of these in the description of the website and the YouTube page, so you can check that out and subscribe and start following everything over there at the Brick Nerd. And if you subscribe to our YouTube page here as well, you can follow all of the videos we'll be releasing, weekly episodes, and still releasing more convention coverage as well. So definitely encourage you to subscribe here at Beyond the Brick, and make sure you never miss a video.
I already subscribed.
There you go. Follow Tommy's example.
Tommy subscribes.
Hit the subscribe button. Definitely. Yeah. So thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next week.